What if I told you that right now, as you watch this video, your most important nerve is being systematically starved, that the very nerve responsible for your body's healing, your mental clarity, and your ability to handle stress is operating at just 20% of its potential? This isn't science fiction. This is the reality for 90% of modern adults, and the consequences are more devastating than you can imagine. I'm talking about the vagus nerve, the single most important biological structure you've probably never heard of. This wandering nerve, stretching from your brainstem all the way down to your colon, controls more of your bodily functions than any other nerve in your entire system. It's not just a nerve, it's your body's master control center for healing, digestion, immunity, and emotional regulation. Let me paint you a picture of what's happening inside you right now. Every time you check your phone, every time you feel that spike of anxiety about work, every time you scroll through social media comparing your life to others, your sympathetic nervous system kicks into high gear, fight or flight. And in that moment, your vagus nerve, the parasympathetic counterbalance, gets silenced. This isn't occasional. For most people living in our modern world, this is constant. Day after day, month after month, year after year, we're living in a state of chronic sympathetic dominance, and our vagus nerves are paying the price. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Your vagus nerve isn't just a passive cable carrying signals. It's a two-way superhighway of information between your brain and your gut. Yes, you heard that right. Your gut communicates directly with your brain through this nerve, and the messages it sends determine everything from your mood to your immune response. This is called the gut-brain axis, and the vagus nerve is its main thoroughfare. When this communication breaks down, when the messages get scrambled or silenced, the results are catastrophic. Let me give you a specific example. Researchers at the University of California discovered something fascinating. They found that when they stimulated the vagus nerve in patients with severe depression, patients who hadn't responded to any medication, something remarkable happened. Within weeks, their depression lifted. Not just a little, profoundly. And here's the kicker. They didn't just feel better emotionally. Their inflammation markers dropped. Their digestion improved. Their sleep normalized. One nerve stimulation affected their entire system. This brings us to our first critical insight. Inflammation isn't just something that happens in your joints or your arteries. It's a whole body phenomenon regulated largely by your vagus nerve. When your vagus nerve is active and healthy, it releases something called acetylcholine. This neurotransmitter tells your immune system to calm down. It's like having a built-in fire extinguisher for inflammation. But when your vagal tone is low, when the nerve isn't firing properly, that fire extinguisher is missing. Inflammation runs wild. And we now know that chronic inflammation is the root cause of nearly every modern disease: heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, even Alzheimer's. But here's the real tragedy. We're living in a world that's actively hostile to our vagus nerves. Let me walk you through a typical modern day, and you'll see what I mean. You wake up to an alarm, a jarring, unnatural start that immediately triggers cortisol. You check your phone before you even get out of bed. More cortisol. You rush through breakfast, maybe skip it altogether, disrupting the natural digestive rhythm your vagus nerve tries to establish. You commute in traffic, stress mounting. You sit at a desk for 8 hours, barely moving, your diaphragm compressed, your breathing shallow. Your vagus nerve needs deep, diaphragmatic breathing to function optimally, and you're giving it the exact opposite. You eat lunch at your desk while answering emails. No rest state for digestion. You finish work, but you're still mentally at the office, checking emails, worrying about tomorrow. You go to bed with a screen in your face, blue light suppressing melatonin. And then you do it all over again. In this entire day, when did your vagus nerve get a chance to activate? When did you enter what scientists call parasympathetic dominance, the healing, restorative state? Probably never. And this isn't just making you feel tired. It's literally shortening your lifespan. Now let's talk about what healthy vagal tone actually looks like in practice. I want to introduce you to 2 patients from my clinical practice. Names changed for privacy, but their stories are real. Meet Sarah, a 42-year-old marketing executive. Sarah came to me with what she called mystery symptoms: fatigue that coffee couldn't fix, brain fog that made her forget simple words, digestive issues that had her bouncing from specialist to specialist, anxiety that felt like a constant hum in the background of her life. She'd been tested for everything: thyroid issues, autoimmune conditions, vitamin deficiencies. All normal. On paper, she was healthy. But she felt terrible. Then there's James, a 68-year-old retired teacher. James had been diagnosed with high blood pressure, pre-diabetes, and was starting to show early signs of cognitive decline. His doctor wanted to put him on 3 different medications. James wanted another way. Both Sarah and James had one thing in common: catastrophically low vagal tone. We measured it using something called heart rate variability, a simple, non-invasive test that shows how well your vagus nerve is communicating with your heart. Their results were in the bottom 10th percentile for their age groups. So we started with what I call vagus nerve rehabilitation. Not medication, not supplements. Simple, specific practices designed to stimulate this underused nerve. And what happened next will change how you think about your health forever. Within 2 weeks, Sarah reported that her brain fog had lifted by about 70%. She was sleeping through the night for the first time in years. Her digestion normalized. After 6 weeks, her anxiety, which she'd had since college, was virtually gone. James saw his blood pressure drop from 150/95 to 130/85, without medication. His fasting blood sugar normalized. And perhaps, most remarkably, his family started commenting on how much sharper he seemed mentally. These aren't miracle cures. This is biology. This is what happens when you stop starving your most important nerve and start feeding it instead. So how do you actually stimulate your vagus nerve? Let me give you 3 science-backed methods that are completely free and take less than 5 minutes a day. First, we have what I call the breathing reset. This isn't just any breathing exercise. It's specifically designed to maximize vagus nerve stimulation through something called the Herren-Brewer reflex. Here's how it works. Breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Not into your chest, into your belly. Feel it expand. Then hold that breath for a count of 7. This is crucial. The holding phase creates pressure that stimulates vagal receptors in your lungs. Finally, exhale slowly through pursed lips for a count of 8. That prolonged exhalation is the real magic. It triggers maximum vagal activation. Do this just 5 times when you wake up, 5 times before meals, and 5 times before bed. That's less than 5 minutes total, but it will change your nervous system. Second, we have thermal contrast. This sounds fancy, but it's incredibly simple. At the end of your shower, turn the water to cold for the final 30 to 60 seconds. Not cool. Cold, as cold as it goes. The shock of cold water on your face and neck triggers what's called the mammalian dive reflex, an ancient survival mechanism that immediately activates your vagus nerve. Your heart rate will slow, your blood vessels will constrict, then dilate, and you'll get a flood of those feel-good neurotransmitters. If you're feeling really ambitious, you can alternate hot and cold, 30 seconds each, for 3 cycles. The contrast between temperatures creates what's called vascular gymnastics that's incredibly stimulating for vagal tone. Third, we have what researchers are calling social vagus stimulation. This might surprise you, but your vagus nerve is deeply connected to your social engagement system. When you genuinely connect with another human being, when you make eye contact, when you feel empathy, when you share a real laugh, you're stimulating your vagus nerve. This is why loneliness is literally deadly. It starves your vagus nerve of its natural stimulation. So my prescription, have 1 real conversation a day. Not a text exchange, not a social media comment. A face-to-face or voice-to-voice conversation where you're fully present. Listen deeply. Make eye contact. Share something authentic. This isn't just good for your soul, it's medicine for your nervous system. Now I want to address something important. You might be thinking, But I exercise. I eat healthy. Isn't that enough? Here's the uncomfortable truth. You can be doing everything right on paper and still have disastrous vagal tone. I've seen marathon runners with terrible heart rate variability. I've seen vegans with sky-high inflammation markers. I've seen meditators who still can't handle stress. Why? Because they're missing this fundamental piece. Exercise, diet, sleep, they're all important, but they operate downstream of your nervous system. If your vagus nerve isn't functioning properly, you're building your health on a shaky foundation. Let me give you a metaphor that might help. Think of your body as a symphony orchestra. Your organs are the instruments, your brain is the conductor, and your vagus nerve, it's the communication system between the conductor and the musicians. If that communication is staticky or broken, it doesn't matter how talented the musicians are or how skilled the conductor is. The music will be discordant. No amount of better instruments, supplements, or more rehearsals, exercise, will fix broken communication. This brings us to our climax, the single most important insight I want you to take away today. For the last 50 years, we've been treating symptoms. High blood pressure? Here's a pill. Anxiety? Here's another pill. Inflammation? Here's an anti-inflammatory. We've been trying to fix the discordant music by replacing instruments, and the real problem is the communication system. Your vagus nerve is that communication system, and the emerging science is clear. By improving vagal tone, we're not just managing symptoms, we're addressing root causes. We're restoring the body's innate ability to heal itself. This isn't alternative medicine. This isn't woo-woo. This is hardcore neuroscience that's being validated in some of the world's most prestigious research institutions. At the Massachusetts General Hospital, researchers are using vagus nerve stimulation to treat rheumatoid arthritis, an autoimmune condition that conventional medicine struggles with. At Stanford, they're using it to reverse metabolic syndrome. At Johns Hopkins, they're exploring its potential for PTSD and trauma recovery. The applications are staggering because the nerve itself is so fundamental. But here's what's even more exciting. You don't need a medical device. You don't need to spend a single dollar. The tools to optimize your vagus nerve are built into your biology. You just need to know how to use them. So, let me leave you with this final thought. For the next 7 days, I want you to try something. I want you to commit to just one of the practices I mentioned, the breathing reset, the cold shower finish. One real conversation a day. Pick one. Do it consistently for 7 days. And pay attention.